they put together propaganda campaigns saying, oh, it has all these nutrients and this and strong bones. And it's like,
Yes, even still in the 90s, I remember milk commercials, and we even learned in school how important milk is for your calcium and your bones and all of that. So when I was a teenager, after I heard that, I started drinking my glass of milk every day.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And they got us, yeah, got milk. They got every famous person they could find to, put the milk mustache on and go and promote this nasty, nasty stuff. And in bread, it was like the same thing. I was looking up this white bread commercials, and they're talking about, how many nutrients it got, and eat this white bread, and the little kids can grow up strong. And it's like,
Wow.
it's just totally bizarre. And so we're not only dealing with the mental stuff of when we were brought into this, but there's the propaganda that our parents grew up with. And so once we start to unwind that, to really understand, like, well, why is it so hard for people to get to that? If I say something like, I don't believe in the protein theory, that's like, what, that, like, a lot of people, they didn't know it was a theory. They didn't know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's a historical basis that you can check out. And my approach is, I have a tendency to put the responsibility on the other person to do the research. I already did the research for myself, and I'm brought myself to where I have an understanding I'm comfortable with. But you got to go check that stuff out if you want to understand why it's a theory and why it's a dumb theory. You got to go look
Yeah.
into that. Those initial experiments, they were torturing dogs and starving dogs when they discovered this so-called protein kind of concept. And there's a lot of things like that. When they were studying B12, they're doing these sadistic experiments on animals, and then they after all of this, they come up with these theories that are always based from a pus and mucus eating perspective. And so the entire nutritional concept, the calorie theory is another strange one. The history of all these concepts, when you start looking at them and objectively asking, kind of going back and saying, okay, let's just objectively ask questions and see if this makes sense. See if these original theories that the entire field is based on, let's see if it makes any sense. And almost every time I go back and I study these things from that perspective, they not only do they not make sense, they're even worse than I think they're going to be. I mean, they even make less sense. And so that's kind of what I mean by where, I could speak in terms of, I guess some people will try to use that as a way to get people into various diets, and and they're really try to focus on, nutrients and this and that. Our focus is always on elimination. And so because even if you did believe in that kind of nutrition concept, if you are constipated with waste, your body isn't going to absorb anything anyway, nothing good. And so whether wherever you come out on that, like I say, and I encourage people to look into some of the history of these things. I talk a little bit about a few of these theories in my book, Spira Speaks. But where I do kind of examines just a little bit of the history of these concepts.
Yeah.
But that arms you, and the benefit of that really is to go back to what I was saying before of trying to undo those generations of not only wrong eating, but wrong thinking about eating. And so that's the kind of mental work that can really help you, where you start to challenge these concepts and take control back from these things that you didn't even know that you were supposed to question.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it very interesting a while back when you said, when you had your transition, how you eliminated a lot. And the very same thing happened to me.